Imagine spawning into a world with no cities, no roads, no farms, no armies, no empires, no internet, no patch notes, and definitely no tutorials. You wake up in Ice Age Greece 20,000 years ago. The climate is brutal. Food is scarce. Everything wants to kill you. And your entire civilization consists of a few dozen people hiding inside a cave. Yet somehow, from these humble beginnings, would emerge one of the most influential civilizations in human history. The land that would eventually give birth to philosophers, warriors, kings, democracy, mythology, and empires. But before Greece could become Greece, it had to survive the ultimate early game challenge. This is the story of how a handful of cave dwellers started one of history's greatest civilization campaigns. Welcome to History Vault. Chapter 1. Franchthy Cave. The ultimate starting location. Our story begins around 20,000 BC. The world is still trapped in the grip of the last ice age. Sea levels are dramatically lower than today. Much of the landscape would look unfamiliar to modern eyes. And on the eastern coast of what is now Greece lies one of the most important archaeological sites in all of Europe, Franchthy Cave. Located in the Argolid region of southern Greece, this cave served as a human shelter for thousands upon thousands of years. Not decades, not centuries, millennia. Generation after generation returned to this same location. In gaming terms, somebody found a ridiculously overpowered spawn point and never abandoned it. Why Franchthy was so good. Think about what prehistoric humans needed: food, fresh water, protection from weather, access to resources, and preferably fewer things trying to eat them. Franchthy offered almost everything. The cave overlooked a fertile coastal region. The nearby sea provided fish and shellfish. The surrounding hills contained game animals. Plants, nuts, and wild fruits were available throughout the year. This wasn't just a shelter. It was a carefully chosen strategic position, a natural headquarters, a prehistoric command center.
This map is broken. Look at these resources. Fish spawn over there. Deer spawn over here. Fresh water nearby. Natural defensive terrain. Meanwhile, my cousin spawned on a frozen mountain and got eliminated by winter.
To be fair, he did choose a terrible starting location.
Exactly. Franchthy Cave is pay to win.
Chapter 2. The Obsidian Quest. Humanity's first weapon upgrade. Now we arrive at one of the most fascinating discoveries connected to Franchthy Cave. A discovery that reveals something extraordinary about prehistoric Greece. The people living here possessed obsidian. Not a little obsidian, a lot of obsidian. And that raises an important question. Where did it come from? Because there was one major problem. There was no obsidian near Franchthy Cave. None. Zero. Not even close. What is obsidian? Obsidian is volcanic glass. When lava cools rapidly, it can form a dark, glass-like material with incredibly sharp edges, sharper than many metal blades. In the Stone Age, obsidian was the premium weapon and tool material, the legendary loot drop, the rare crafting ingredient, the top-tier technology. If ordinary stone tools were bronze-tier equipment, obsidian was practically legendary rarity. The source: Milos. Researchers traced the obsidian found at Franchthy to the island of Milos in the Aegean Sea. And this is where things become astonishing. The island was separated by open water. To obtain this material, prehistoric humans had to cross the sea. Think about that. We're talking about people living thousands of years before written history, thousands of years before Greece existed, thousands of years before famous sailors crossed the Mediterranean. Yet they were already navigating maritime routes, already planning expeditions, already moving valuable resources across significant distances.
So let me get this straight. We need better weapons,
Correct.
and the upgrade material is on an island,
Yes.
across the ocean.
Also yes.
Who designed this quest line?
It's nature.
Terrible game design.
The first fetch quest. Yet despite the challenges, they did it. Again and again. The evidence suggests that humans were obtaining obsidian from Milos for thousands of years. This required planning, organization, knowledge of routes, construction of watercraft, understanding weather patterns, and perhaps cooperation between multiple communities. This wasn't random wandering. This was logistics. Primitive logistics, but logistics nonetheless. One of the earliest known long-distance exchange networks in Europe, long before empires managed trade routes, long before merchants crossed seas, long before ports dominated the Mediterranean. These prehistoric sailors were already connecting distant regions. The foundations of future Greek maritime culture were beginning to appear, tiny at first, but unmistakable. Why it matters. The obsidian trade represents something larger than a simple material exchange. It demonstrates foresight. People were willing to invest time and effort today for advantages tomorrow. That concept may sound obvious, but it represents a massive step in human development. The journey to Milos wasn't necessary for immediate survival. It was an investment, an attempt to improve future efficiency, future hunting, future productivity, future success. Humanity was beginning to think beyond the next meal, and that changed everything. Chapter 3. The Neolithic Revolution, the ultimate base upgrade. Then came one of the greatest transformations in human history, a change so profound that it completely altered the human experience. For countless generations, people had lived as hunter-gatherers, moving, following resources, adapting to nature. But around the 7th millennium BC, a revolutionary new strategy appeared. Instead of following food, humans would produce it. Instead of wandering, they would settle. Instead of temporary camps, they would build permanent communities. The Neolithic age had arrived, and Greece was about to enter a completely new phase of the campaign. Enter Thessaly. The fertile plains of Thessaly became one of the most important centers of early farming in Greece. Rich soil, reliable water, excellent agricultural conditions. In short, a perfect location for establishing a permanent settlement. And two sites would become legendary among archaeologists: Sesklo and Dimini, the first great base-building projects of prehistoric Greece. Sesklo, the early city builder. Sesklo emerged as one of the oldest and most significant Neolithic settlements in Europe. Here, communities began constructing durable homes, not temporary shelters, actual houses built to last. Families remained in one place. Fields were cultivated. Animals were domesticated. Storage systems were developed. Food surpluses became possible. For the first time, people could accumulate wealth. Not gold, not silver, but something arguably more valuable: stored food, reliable resources, security.
Wait! We can grow food.
Yes.
On purpose?
Exactly.
And it stays in one place.
Correct.
This changes the entire meta.
Indeed it does.
Developers definitely need to nerf farming.
The consequences of settlement. Permanent settlement triggered a chain reaction of innovation. Population increased, skills became specialized, architecture improved, craftsmanship expanded. Communities grew larger and more complex. The simple, cave-dwelling bands of the Ice Age were evolving into organized societies, and this was only the beginning. Dimini and the first fortifications. Then came Dimini, a settlement that reveals another crucial development: defense. Because once humans built valuable permanent settlements, they suddenly had something worth protecting. Dimini became famous for its concentric stone walls. Multiple defensive rings surrounded the settlement, layer after layer, barrier after barrier, an early form of organized fortification. Not quite a castle, not yet a city wall, but undeniably a defensive system, and perhaps one of the earliest examples of strategic settlement planning in Greece.
Finally, someone understands.
Understands what?
Never trust neighboring tribes.
That may be slightly cynical.
Build walls first. Ask questions later.
End of Part 1. Teaser. From the hunters of Franchthi Cave, to the seafarers chasing obsidian across the Aegean, to the farmers and builders of Sesklo and Dimini. The foundations of Greek civilization were being laid, slowly, patiently, generation by generation. But the next phase would transform everything. Villages would become centers of power, trade networks would expand, technology would accelerate, and eventually, the Bronze Age would arrive, bringing with it palaces, kings, warriors, and the first true civilizations of Greece. That story awaits in the next chapter. Until then, keep your walls strong, your obsidian sharp, and your save file backed up. Welcome to History Vault. Do not forget to like and subscribe for a part 2.